Gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing.
I said, hey, hey, oh, oh, hey, hey, there's no surrender. Let 'em hear our battle cry.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Diaz finally finds himself bumped out of the points lead by his teammate, but the two Obsidian Racing drivers are likely looking over their shoulder at Karl Modoff, who is carrying an impressive bit of momentum forward into the second half of the season. A mere 12 points separate the top three in the driver's chase, and only 4 rounds stand between them and the end of the hunt. The tight confines of Montreal could drastically shape this fight if anyone falls afoul of its notorious walls. We'll see if everyone keeps it clean as we get ready to watch round 7 of the PRL GTE Sportscar series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, named after Gilles Villeneuve, I feel like this track would still make the Canadian feel proud. It's a frightening challenge to tackle even today.
Definitely, Joe. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is one of the most unassuming tracks on any calendar, but it has some intense challenges. Built on the Isle Notre Dame in the center of Montreal, Canada, to replace the aging Mossport in the F1 calendar, this 2.71 mile or 4.36 kilometer circuit features 14 difficult turns, each requiring different setup characteristics to tackle, making setting up for this race supremely consternating. While you may want good mechanical grip for the Senna S and the hairpin curve, you'll need good downforce and high-speed stability for turns 8 and 9 in the Wall of Champions. As if that dichotomy wasn't enough, turns 3, 4, and 5 are medium speed corners that require a very balanced setup to be comfortable flat out, which will be a necessity to make a good lap time or attempt a pass into turn 6. Add to all of those close Add to all of that close walls of an island circuit, long and fast straights, and many opportunities for cut course penalties, and we have a sleeping giant on our hands for tonight's race, Joe. So let's get her started and take a lap around Montreal in our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Taylor Burris in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Montreal. Down into the Senna S, this always looks like a great place to pass, and it does provide opportunities, but the way it switches back into this hairpin makes it very tough to overtake no matter which side you're on. You especially tend to see drivers tangle on the first lap, where this section is notorious for messy incidents. From there, you've got a short burst to 3 and 4, where you won't want to take it out of the corner too hot. The wall is right up against the edge of the track and can end your day early. After that, turn 5 is a bit marginal and definitely requires you to hug the inside to set yourself up for 6. The first apex is the more important one because if you don't set up the exit, it'll really hamper you on the run down to 8. You're now on the Riverside stretch, which is a fairly long acceleration zone. It's pretty common to see someone try to set up a pass as they approach the bridge, but unlike the previous chicanes, this one has some very tall sausage curbs right at the apexes. Messing up your line means more than a blown corner, but possibly a damaged under tray as well. Once again, avoid pancaking the wall coming off of there. Then you've got to get ready for Le Pingle. This is the only corner you'll be braking for that isn't a chicane. But this hairpin is extremely tight. As long as drivers don't bang into one another, you can expect someone to try to pull an over-under. It'll be incredibly important to get a good run off of here because the backstretch along the rowing lake is the longest straight of the track. Though the GTE cars don't give off a huge slipstream, it can still create a good opportunity for the car behind to start to gain. And then of course there's the heavy braking of the final chicane, which is the most common place to see overtakes happen on this circuit. But it includes the notorious wall of champions off to your right. Make sure not to clatter into that, as well as steer clear of getting a cut course penalty. If you've done that, you've now finished a lap around Montreal.
See a lap around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and that should really give you an idea of just how close those walls are from on board on the driver's perspective. As always, though, today's race is brought to you by SIMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products create an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a Butt Kicker game or two or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the team's championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Speaking of that championship, before we get to the teams, let's look at the drivers. Adam, what are those points sitting at?
Definitely. We have Abner Akasa taking over the top spot from Michael Diaz, who's only about 10 points behind, but they're both, as you said, looking at their review at Karl Modoff, only 12 points off the lead in third position with a real head of steam closing into the end of this championship. Christian Gerritsen Eisler is 38 points back, and Zachary Hefner rounds out the top 5, 53 points back. They're still within striking distance, but it's going to be a little bit more challenging for them to close the gap, especially with the good performances being put on by the team Obsidian Racing, if we're looking at the team's championship as well. Obsidian Racing taking a great lead right now, 90 points ahead of Team Bushvink Copper. And then following behind them is Racing Sim Tools, the Podium Hunters, 107 points off the lead, but only about 17 points off of second place. So that's very good. They've clawed their way ahead, as well as Kokomoto Clara Racing Team, who are 113 points off the lead, with Speedworks Racing Team West 151 points off the lead, closing out that fifth spot in the standings.
Thanks for that update, Adam. Now, for our viewers who are just tuning in for the first time for the PRL GTE Sportscar Series, here's the race details for today's event. As we mentioned, we are 7 rounds in, and you can see with this being GTE racing, they have 4 different makes of cars they're allowed to use. These are all been balanced out to be relatively close to one another. And the race distance is 60 minutes in this series. It used to be 40 minutes that they raced in the GTE cars. Now they've upped it. It is still only one scheduled stop for fuel throughout the length of the race. They have restricted that fuel, and that's why they have to make a fuel stop. The real ones would have been able to make it that full hour. They have an incident cap as well at 24. Granted, this track isn't known for the incidents racking up too much unless you maybe have a cut course along the way. If you hit the wall, certainly not going to be able to come back and get too many more of those incident points because they have no spare car to save them in the pit lane. As always, we're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe. If you go to their YouTube page and you have not subscribed, it'll be a big red button that says so. Click that. You won't miss a moment here on IESN of the PRL GTE Sports Car Series. Right now, qualifying is happening, and currently the provisional pole belongs to Andre Espinoza, although it is a very tight fight with the driver in second, about 3/100ths of a second to Caraballo, who led in the warm-up. But Adam, you noted that Moises seemed to be maybe a little bit inconsistent with his laps, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to make this up.
Yeah, he's been struggling quite a bit in practice, just keeping it on the track, keeping away from those off tracks and those cut course penalties. So if he's going to try and tackle Espinoza, he's going to have to make clean laps. And while he's got a really good lap in, which nets him, second on pole, he's going to have to keep it clean and just put in a little bit more speed. And that can be really difficult to do around here. It's a really risky, challenging race course. And so Caraballo is going to really have to put some time in.
Yeah, risk is a good word for here. Trying to find speed with the walls right up at the edge of the track in a few places. Very old school in that sense. There's some debate among drivers on if this counts as a street course. Some of it is actually used as regular streets when it is not a racetrack. But many of the bits of the track are actually purpose-built as racetrack for the rest of the year. So watch Abner Acosta try to improve his position. He sits in third. His last lap was his fastest, but he's 2/10 off of our pole sitter. So he has got some ground to make up. Really, the one we want to watch is probably Modov, who is yet to set a lap time. I think he's struggling more than Caraballo looking at his laps.
Yeah, Modov just has not had a clean lap this run. He's had a lot of traffic that he's had to contend with, and he is cutting. It looks like turn 4 a little short. So that might be giving him some cut course penalties. But as we take a look on board now with Modov, he's making a clean lap this run. So hopefully this will be a good time and put him up there for the fight for the lead for this race.
Modov is only one of two drivers who's won more than once this season. Himself and Caraballo have 2 wins apiece. But as I said, Modov has really been gaining momentum ever since we've hit the second half of the season and has clawed his way back forward. He's got 2 championships under his belt, and he's looking for a third, but he's going to have to beat both Acosta and Diaz, who are in front of him in the qualifying timing sheets.
Speaking of Diaz is only qualified P7 right now. He's really struggling on pace right now with this qualifying session. He's almost a full 7/10 off the lead. Let's see whether or not Modov can make a good time here. He's going to take it pretty conservative through the wall of champions. Let's see what kind of time he gets at the end of this lap.
He's heading towards the line. Was it clean or was he just barely off? It was clean, and it's a 29.8. That is going to put him into third position within 4/100ths of the pole. Incredibly close from our 2-time champion. You mentioned Diaz, too. A mistake late in race really cost him. He could have potentially had a third or a second place last round. And unfortunately, errors in his pit stop, as well as having spins out on track, sent him down the order, lost multiple points to his teammate Acosta, who took over the points lead. His latest lap not going to count for him, unfortunately, so he's going to have to come around one more time.
There's only about 2 minutes 15 left as we look at Zachary Hefner. He has put in a 1:30.1, and that's good enough for 5th place right now, but he's trying to improve his time. Man, people really taking those curbs quite hard through the wall of champions, and that's great for qualifying, but you got to be careful during the races, especially as the tires start to go off for these cars.
I was going to say, I'm a little bit surprised because I would imagine that for a few of these cars. Curbs are really the enemy, and they'll have to play carefully with them if they bounce the car just the wrong way. This is Corey Clark, another driver who had a bad race at Lime Rock Park. Unfortunately, found the wall, and that set him many laps down. Corey currently sitting in 12th. He's a teammate of Modoff, those two fighting for the team's championship. But no offense to Corey, I'd say that Carl is really carrying the brunt of the weight in that fight.
So I've been actually taking a look at Michael Diaz, who's actually headed towards the Wall of Champions right now. Diaz abandoned his last lap, so he's only going to have one opportunity to make a lap here because they've only got about 110 left. He might not even make a lap, so this might be his starting position, Joe.
Well, they do get to run out their last hot lap, so I think you're right. This is going to be his last attempt at it, but he has a lot of cars in front of him, so this is extremely important that he nails this one. Try and improve his position. Incredibly tight fight up at the top. Again, only 4 100s separating Espinosa, Caraballo, and make that 7 100s because Caraballo back up ahead of Espinosa with that lap he just ran. A 1:29.701 for the 827 car. I wonder if Modoff is going to respond because he's just coming up now. Oh, and that one doesn't count for him, so he'll get this last lap through to try and nail one. Costa coming down the front stretch.
All these drivers still have another lap to go if they choose to take one. We got about 5 seconds left in the session.
Let's see who's going to be the first to get the checkered flag here. Looks like Andrew Caron. He's sitting in 7th. Oh, he improves, but only up to 5th position. That's 2 positions up at the end. Kenny Rodriguez, the next one. Kenny Rodriguez's time is not an improvement. He will stay down towards the back half of the field. Diaz is going to be the next one across, and he's given a big tow to Moises Caraballo behind him. This could really affect the shape of things. How much of an improvement would that be? And he's going to abandon it. Diaz not confident about it. He ducks out of the way, lets Caraballo through as he was braking. I think Moises is still going to get the benefit from that tow. He's going to cross the line, and he does improve by 0.4 of a second. Absolutely destroys everybody else around him.
What a tow there was from Diaz. What an amazing tow. As we're looking at Christian Eisler coming through the Turn of Champions, now the Wall of Champions. He's going to go through, and Modoff behind him. Modoff almost scraping the wall there. Let's see whether Eisler can improve.
He does, and that's going to put him in 5th. Modoff does not improve on his last lap. Pete Mobrotten also does not. Let's see, we've got Abner Acosta. He's trying for that pole. A 29.966 is his fastest, but he stays in 4th place. And I think, is that it? Yes, that is everybody. Karen was our first across the line to take the checkered flag, so our grid is now set here for round 7 of the PRL GTE Sports Car Series. Your pole sitter for today is going to be Moises Caraballo, but can he bring it home for a win? In the past, he's had trouble finding the finish line. Andre Espinosa will be starting in 2nd, followed by Carl Modoff in 3rd place. Of the top 3 in the points, he is the highest qualifying. That bodes well for him, but one of his main rivals, our points leader, Abner Acosta, will start right next to him on the outside of row 2. Christian Eisler will be 5th position, with Andrew Caron starting in 6th. Zach Hefner, not the best qualifying for him, but he'll be up towards the front of the field in 7th when the green drops. Michael Diaz, definite disappointment for him, only a 30.4 as his fastest lap gives him 8th. Pablo Uribe will be 9th, and Corey Clark, the teammate to Modoff, at least cracks into the top 10.
Matthew Tino starting in row 6 on P11. Leif Peterson alongside him in 12th position. We have Pete Moore-Broden in 13th, and Joshua Daniels alongside him in 14th position. Jeffrey Arroyan in 15th position, and Rodrigo Munoz in 16th in row 8 as well. Micro Stokebauer in row 9 and 17th. Kenneth Rodriguez 18th. Cristobal Valenzuela in row 10, and alongside him is Joey Trungale in the 20th position. 21st is going to be Takeshi Kita. And then Anthony Pisano is not going to start the race, so they'll promote Stefan Bench up to the 22nd position.
See, Stefan isn't in the session either, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to take the grid. He's really got to hustle and get back out here if he wants to be able to start with everybody, or else he'll be forced to come out of the pit lane when the green flag drops. You can see they're all gridding up back there behind the Porsche pace car here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Again, a big thank you to our sponsors today, both SIMSA and Butt Kicker, for helping make this broadcast possible and yet another round of this season come to air. Sounds like, oh, did you spot another driver that might not be taking the green, it sounds like?
Yeah, it looks like Arroyo is having trouble getting to the grid as well, so he's going to have to get back in here very quickly if he wants to start. So a couple of these drivers struggling with connection issues as they start this race.
One of the big talking points, at least in the real world, when drivers race here, and I guess it's a talking point here as well because it certainly mimics it, is that first set of corners, the Senna S. It's a left-hander that leads into a tight right hairpin. And will it cause problems for drivers? Because many times in real life, there's tangles in the first corner as everybody tries to weave their way through, and not everybody's line is the same. You can see the Porsche pace car now leading away as Caraballo is very slow to follow it down the Rowing Lake Straight. We'll see how everybody handles it. There's also the question of how they're going to work their way through the final chicane past the Wall of Champions. Will they try and single file out, or are they going to try and work through there too wide before Caraballo accelerates away for the green? He's going to be single file, at least for the front, and he immediately takes off. He is not waiting. Green flag is out here for round 7 of the PRL GTE Sports Car Series. An incredible jump, honestly, from Caraballo. Well ahead of second place Espinoza. Most of the drivers getting very strung out by the time they come to this first corner. That looks like that is going to really lighten a lot of the stress of drivers coming into that chicane. Everybody through nice and clean.
Yeah, everybody through nice and clean in the back as well as they start to go through 3 and 4 here. And yeah, that was not necessarily what the stewards intended for the beginning of the race. We'll see whether or not that comes back to bite Caraballo in the end. But right now, everyone clean and looking like they're being nice and tidy. They got an hour to go, and they know that they don't want to do anything drastic quite yet.
Yeah, it's very single file all throughout the field. But the SRT racing team is probably feeling very good because they are in a 1-2 position with Caraballo leading Espinoza and starting to pull away from one of their main rivals there. Karl Modov sitting in third and nearly a second behind.
I can also report that Michael Diaz has made his way up to P6, so he's already gained 2 positions on that first lap. So as they start to go down the back straight here, he's in a good position and in a good tow on Andrew Caron right now in that 6th position.
We had a problem. Michael Stogbauer got turned in Lapingle. That was from a little contact, I believe, from Cristobal Valenzuela. He outbraked himself into there. Let's take a look at the replay on this because we don't have too much action happening right now. There's Stogbauer in the BMW.
Oh, he just dove super late. No, wasn't. Wow, he got hit from behind. Yeah, someone dove super late into that corner there.
Yeah, it was Valenzuela that you saw that just barely tipped him. He's going to be the yellow and white car that comes in. Stogbauer wouldn't have had any idea.
Yeah, there's no way for him to know that that's coming, and that's just one of those challenging situations where you just you're trying to take your corner on your own and somebody breaks too late, and that's just there's nowhere you can go, nothing you can do. So he's just on a recovery drive now.
Well, it looks like Aroyan has gotten back in. Unfortunately, he's already 1 lap down. He's close to 2 laps down almost, but he's coming out of the pits. Up at the front, Caraballo still ahead of Espinoza.
And Joe, Christian Eisler is way off pace. He is way off pace. He's down about 20 miles per hour on the straights. He's just struggling to keep that track off line right now. He's really struggling as the cars start to go by him. it looks like he might have gotten either an off-track time penalty or something more serious is happening to him.
Yeah, I went back real quick. He cut the course heading through turn 9, unfortunately. Don't need a replay of that, but you can see how costly it's been. He's down to 13th, and I think he's back up the pace now that he's served his penalty time. And we've got some connection problems with Pete Mobrotten, I think. He is flashing like crazy, which is not good because he is really in the thick of a lot of cars.
Yeah, the lead was super close for a little bit, but I think the teammates have spread out now. Caraballo and Espinoza are really starting to sort each other out, really starting to understand how each other are doing. We're taking a look on board Espinoza. He's just falling in line behind Caraballo. These teammates just want to secure each other good positions here, and Caraballo is really starting to take off with this.
I'm checking to see if they are on the same SRT team because sometimes they have multiples out here. But obviously, even if not, they're on sister teams, following him down into Lepingle. Most of the top drivers pretty much just riding in line. Though it looks like it is getting close back there for 4th.
Yeah, Acosta's being challenged by Karen right now. Karen in a pretty decent spot to get a good tow down this straight here. He's going to have to woe it up for the Wall of Champions, but he's definitely better through the more technical sections of this course. And that's Acosta. I noticed during practice and during qualifying, his car is set up really aggressively with the traction control. So he's having a lot of challenge trying to get traction down as he comes off of corners. So that's going to allow Andrew Karen in the more technical sections to climb his way back up.
Pete Mobrotten trying to fend off Leif Peterson. Actually, no, he just got by Leif Peterson because he was ahead of him when I last looked. So that moves Pete up into 11th position as they have Christian Eisler trying to recover from his slowdown penalty that he had not too long ago. He is all over the rear wing of Peterson.
Yeah, Eisler trying to work back his way back up the field there. He's been doing a pretty decent job so far in this race just to hang on to his position, but Leif Peterson's there for the taking, and so he's definitely going to try and make that move if he can.
Well, he got close when those two were battling, but now he looks like he's dropping off slightly as they come down the backstretch towards turns 8 and 9. The chicane that leads towards Lepingle. Oof, and once again, he takes a lot of curb. Has to be careful not to get another cut course penalty in the same spot. Battle
looks
for
like
eighth
Uribe.
position. Yeah.
Yeah, so Uribe just getting past Corey Clark. Corey Clark got a really bad exit coming through 8 and 9, and so that allowed Uribe to get a good run, and he's making the way now. But look at this. Clark's coming back at him with the draft.
Uribe is going to defend the inside. Will he come back to the racing line? They're not side by side here, so he could come back there. No, he's just going to hug the middle of the road. This could compromise his run through there. Oh, he's so close to the wall as the car is squirming under power. Here comes Corey Clark with another try, but another defensive move from Pablo. Covers off the inside to the first part of the corner. Looking for the over-under. That puts him on the outside for the second part. Maybe Clark could get himself a launch off the hairpin. Nothing doing, unfortunately. He is throwing everything, including the kitchen sink at this, and nothing sticks.
Yeah, and Joe, that's holding up Corey Clark significantly. Matthew Tina now up behind both of them. So this definitely is a matter of different pace on different point in the run here. Wow, look at that. Uribe going super deep into the corner, getting a little tight on entry, and that forced him to have to woe it up and slow down quite a bit. Corey Clark's going to have to make something work here. He's going to have to find some way around. Otherwise, he's going to get passed by Tina.
Still can't manage to find that inside line every single time. Uribe covering it off immediately. We ride on the nose of Clark. He's also being chased by Tina that we mentioned. And the more he weaves around, the more Tina gets right underneath the rear of that Porsche. In fact, he pokes his noses in coming through Lepingle. That unfortunately compromises his exit exactly where he wants a really good run on this long straight towards the Wall of Champions.
Yeah, and Tina was struggling there, and Uribe actually locked up his right front through the hairpin, so that's allowed Clark to close up even more. But man, the Wall of Champions is really a difficult place to go through for anybody, and it looks like Clark got the worst of that. Tina's now got a good run.
Clark looked like he was bouncing around quite a bit over those red curbs. Not enough that Tina is able to take a dive down into turn. A little puff of smoke going wide off the exit for Corey Clark. Little mistakes here and there keep opening the door, and the number 24 so far has not let anybody in, but there's a spin behind them, and that is Pete Mobrotten. As cars try to take evasive action, Christian Eisler sneaks through as he slows up. So does Leif Peterson, but 2 positions down in 1 corner for Pete.
Yeah, this is just compounding issues on compounding issues for Mobrotten. Wow, that was a crazy looking spin. It looks like he possibly, this is something that we're gonna have to take a closer look at on board with him, because it's possible this is a brake bias issue, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he hit the brakes, that thing went around. See how quickly his hands react. Oh yeah, just pretty much as soon as he felt it, he was counter steering.
And frankly, it's an amazing save from him.
Also had a spin from Hefner. Where does that put him? He's down to 14th because of that. This happened in turn 9. Let's see if we could watch this one since we missed this.
Yeah, taking a look at this. Yeah, Hefner, I think, just kind of had a similar incident. He's over on the right side of the track, though, so it's possible that something was going wrong with him before he hits this corner. And yeah, just a little bit too much rear brake bias, and that just spins him out.
Watch, though, all the cars. Look at how many go by as he tries to get it turned around. That is what hurts. What cost him so many positions down to 14th, when before I believe he was in 7th or 8th at the time. For those curious what's been going on with the leaders, Caraballo is about a second ahead of Espinoza, and Carl Modoff is closing in. It is about 7/10 up to the number 87 machine. They've left behind Abner Acosta, one of the main championship rivals. He's back by nearly 2 seconds now. Really, honestly, probably more worried about behind, because Andrew Caron continues to hound him around many of the corners.
Yeah, Andrew Caron, once again, has been doing really well through the technical bits, and Acosta has some decent pace on the straights, but with the fact that the draft is so strong coming off the back of that BMW, that's not going to really benefit him that much, because Caron can just sit in the tow and just tow right along with him. So if Caron has a good sector, or if Acosta makes a mistake, Caron will get right by.
Certainly threatening quite a bit. They move through the first hairpin, down the way towards turn 3. Not often you can see successful passes into here. Maybe setting it up out of here. Both of them trying to get the launch, taking it right up to the edge of the wall, through the very blind turn 5 and into 6. Nothing doing yet again, but Caron definitely keeping himself in touch and making sure that he could take advantage of anything. This looks pretty good though, Adam. He is right up behind him now.
Yeah, he definitely is. This is an extremely difficult track to pass at. It's extremely narrow with heavy braking zones and sweeping turns. So it's just very difficult to make your way by on this track. And that's why the top speed that Acosta has is definitely benefiting him. But Caron looking for a way by. He's going to try the outside, try the inside. He swaps him up. Let's see whether he can outbrake him. No, not into the hairpin this time.
Even around to try and figure out which is the best way to go. This is probably where he wanted it most. Perhaps the longest straight on the track, along the rowing lake, down to the final chicane. Just not a good enough launch. And he loses ground, so the slipstream will merely pull him in instead of giving him a chance at a pass as they tick off yet another lap. Neither of them really losing too much time to Modoff in this fight. It's staying at 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, I'd like to say that Caron's holding the station, but he definitely looks like he wants to get by Acosta. Acosta really struggling with tight in the center of the corners, it looks like. So that's allowing Caron to really make ground through these technical bits.
Ooh, that time though, Acosta looked very strong. Pulls a much better gap away. We have a car in the pits, Joey Trungale. I'm not sure if this is scheduled or if what happened here. Checking to see if he had any damage recently, and I'm not seeing any. Car
No, I
looks
don't
spick
see
and
any
span.
damage. Yeah, it's possible that he had some connection issues and maybe was worried about a hardware failure and so came into the pits, but this is quite early for these guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he'll be able to get back out and finish on one stop. It'll be very, very tight. He's on the bleeding edge of it. Let's go back to that battle between Karen and Acosta, because once again, he was getting close in the hairpin. This time, I think he got a slightly better launch as we ride on board with Andrew. Looking ahead to the number 5. He stays in the slipstream. It just didn't look like it's powerful enough. He's going to get right there and then have to hit the brakes. Move their way through past the wall of champions.
Yeah, and it's way too early to make a late dive and try something desperate, so Karen just having to stay behind. Looks like he's got just a little bit too much downforce to make the pass on that back straight, so that's just making him just get held up here behind Acosta. He'd probably be on the back of Modov by now if he had a chance to get by Acosta, even though Acosta's pace is pretty decent. But Karen's just so much better through these first 2 sectors, but then Acosta's top speed is just something to be reckoned with for sure.
Don't forget behind them, Corey Clark is still in it with Uribe. They've been tight for a while. There's Uribe and the Bushfink Ferrari. And then the Molecule team, or Molecule Esports car of Corey Clark just behind him. Look, ooh, speaking of strong mid-corner, Corey Clark really got beneath that Ferrari.
Yeah, when you drive these cars, you start to realize their differences and where their strengths are. The Porsche just seems to... I love how it rotates through the middle of the corner. It's really fun to drive. Oh, wow, he gets extremely loose coming off the corner, though, Corey Clark. And that's going to give up a lot of time to Uribe.
Uribe looked awful close to the wall himself from that onboard. Sometimes difficult to see just how close, but at least he kept it off of it. So we take a glance at P12 now. It's a battle between Daniels and Hefner.
Yeah, Hefner trying to recover from his spin, and Daniels trying to do his best to hold him off. Leif Peterson was actually trying to battle with Joshua Daniels for the last couple of laps, but then Hefner came with such a pace that Peterson just let him by, trying not to hold him up at all. So Daniels and Hefner, I think Hefner's going to make this easy if he gets a good run.
Oh, you know what we missed on, or maybe you mentioned it because you did say he got loose through turn 9. Corey Clark got a slowdown penalty or something. He fell way behind Uribe. Hefner just recently passed these two, Daniels and Peterson. Hefner had a nice little battle at Lime Rock Park a week ago. Looks like he's getting even more action.
Yeah, Hefner clawing his way back after that spin, picking up 2 positions. That's going to feel good, especially as we start to close in on what might be an early pit window.
Already he's pulling away. You can see the difference in pace between himself and those 2 cars behind. Keep glancing around to see if any of our close battles are going to have something happen, but they're all just kind of tantalizing us, getting oh so close, and nobody able to do anything with it. Our driver in 17th, Takeshi Kita, who actually did get a qualifying in, is one of our hard chargers. He's up 5 positions from 21st now to 17th.
Yeah, he's been having a good race, a good consistent race down there. He doesn't necessarily have the pace of the leaders, but what he has been doing is being extremely consistent and picking off positions in wherever he is on the track. So that's the kind of racing that I enjoy, is when you're among drivers of a equal skill level as you, and you're starting to pick off positions. It really makes you feel like, you know what, I could do this. I could really do this. And it's one of the best feelings in the world as you start tearing through the pack like that. And he's closing up on Leif Peterson as well, so he's got more positions to pick up now.
And you could see on your screen, our timing and scoring showed that's Michael Stogbauer, who we know fell well behind earlier in the race. He could yet run down Kita and get himself a spot there towards the back of the pack. See how long it takes him to try and get up to the rear of that number 30 Porsche. Now, Christian Eisler is approaching Matthew Tina, and in fact, pretty quickly. I think all it's going to take is a squared off exit here, and I think this Ferrari, the orange and white Ferrari, might be able to overtake the blue and white Ferrari.
Yeah, Matthew Tina's been struggling ever since he lost the back of Corey Clark up there. So, you know, it's just kind of a matter of time. Eisler's going to look inside. Tina's not going to defend it. Tina knows that Eisler's quite quick. He's gained about 10 seconds in these last couple of laps, so he's quite on pace for a good position here. He might even make top 5 by the end of the day.
And it gives P9 Christian Eisler in that 727 Ferrari. 2.2 seconds up to Corey Clark now. Boy, it's been a while since we've seen Christian himself take a victory, and his pace this season compared to all the new blood that's come in doesn't look like he's going to be much in the hunt unless we have something drastic happen in one of the races, or he just is suddenly at a lot better pace at most of these tracks, because he's just been hovering around this 5th to 10th place in many of the races. Minutes in. We are definitely solidly into the pit window now, but we haven't seen anybody else come in since we watched Trungale take his incredibly early stop. He's been out for 4 laps already. Again, he needs to make about 46 to 47 minutes, I want to say it was, on his tank of fuel.
Yeah, most of the gaps are starting to widen here, I think, as people start to fiddle with their pit stops and try and figure stuff out. So it's one of those things where they're going to have to keep their eyes out and keep working on it. But as we're watching that, Leif Peterson's starting to close on Cristobal Valenzuela.
And we don't need to go to it, but Takeshi Kita had a slowdown penalty in turn 9, gave back 2 positions, fell to 19th. So we watch Peterson on the back of Valenzuela, very close to the back of Valenzuela. Close enough that the slipstream is putting it down to less than a car length. He's going to look to the inside of the BMW. They're going to go too wide through there, and somehow they come out the other side, but does he get a good enough launch? This is slowing them up a whole hell of a lot, but Leif Peterson does get a good enough launch. To the inside, Valenzuela takes a peek. I don't know if he's really got the brakes for it. Nope, never mind, he does. What happened there?
I don't believe Leif Peterson cut the corner enough to get a slowdown, but now he's really in trouble. He's got Stockbauer and Rodriguez behind him. He's in some serious trouble now as they start to go to turn 3 and 4.
And that's Kita as well at the back of that train. A lot of, oh no, and Stockbauer into the wall out of 4. Oh, poor Stockbauer. Bad day for him today.
I can confirm Leif Peterson did in fact get a slowdown going through the Wall of Champions section, so he had to slow up significantly, and that's just really put Stockbauer offline and put him into the wall. That's, oh my goodness, he's super loose and into the wall again.
Stockbauer is struggling, has to have some damage. Down to the inside though, Leif Peterson manages to make the pass on Valenzuela, and he's up into 15th position. Took him about a lap to get it done, but finally he is through. Battle for 4th though is getting awful hot.
They've got lap traffic to deal with, Joe.
Trungale, oh, great job by Trungale seeing that coming. Pulls off to the paved runoff and lets them through.
Yeah, Andrew Caron really looked like he might have an opportunity there to pass Acosta with Trungale holding him up. They were held up through 3 and 4 and around 5 there, and then into 6. It looked like Trungale might hold up Acosta, but he pulled off just in time and that allowed Acosta to get freed up. But Caron's got a really good run. If he can get a good exit here, he hasn't gotten one yet on Acosta, but wow, he takes the corner inside. Acosta hits the wall.
Hard thwack to the left front of the BMW. He was pushing it, but he found the limit here. And the limit here will bite.
Yeah, just no more lock for him. He just clobbered that wall. That's going to be some pretty significant damage, I'm pretty sure.
I would think so. I think the big fear would be suspension damage, but he's not fallen off of Karen at all. He's still right back there, and the left front not looking that great. So as that's been happening, Michael Diaz is now closed up to the back of Uribe. This is for 6th position.
Actually, I believe that was Uribe passing Diaz through the final sector there. Uribe did a really good job holding him off through up to the Wall of Champions. So Uribe making that pass commandingly. Michael Diaz not having a good race right now. Oh, Uribe hits the wall a little bit. These tires are starting to go, guys.
Yeah, Pablo made the pass into Lapingle. And as you said, Diaz tried to fight back. He's not giving up, but he's starting to lose a little bit of ground. Inch by inch, the Ferrari pulls away from him, denying an opportunity to get him back. They come through 8 and 9. This is where the pass happened a lap ago. Diaz certainly way too far back to send an aggressive move in this time.
It's looking like that extra weight of the BMW is starting to come back to bite some of these BMW drivers. They're seeming to have a lot of trouble getting traction down off the corner. But look at this top speed that he's able to claw back down this straight. It's not going to be enough to get him by the Wall of Champions, but if he can get close enough and get a good exit off of some of these slower corners, he might have an opportunity. But man, he's extremely loose on brakes.
We might want to go back to Corey Clark. Corey Clark actually makes a big mistake as Christian Eisler is going to be able to get by. He nearly got into the back of him, and that slowing up has allowed Matthew Tina to have a whiff of it, but Matthew blows up. Let's look at the replay and see how this all started.
Yeah, Corey Clark into the Wall of Champions. He's trying to defend his position, and if you haven't taken this angle into the corner before, it is one of the most challenging things to get a car through here for sure. And Corey Clark just clobbering both. Oh my goodness, he was full on airborne with that second chicane and just barely managed to keep it out of the wall.
I was just going to say, I don't think he actually touched it, but there was inches to spare, and that drops him down 2 spots as Tina moves up to 9th, and Eisler is now into 8th. Almost at halfway, and we've seen a lot of action. Drivers being forced into mistakes, some not being forced into mistakes and making it all on their own. He's going to have to take a very clean and precise run to get a victory today, which is honestly what Caraballo has been doing. 6th, though. Oh, well, here we go again. Uribe and Diaz ready for round 2. Pablo is your leader that we ride on board with, looking back from the gearbox on Michael Diaz. He covers him all the way to the grass on the inside, not giving him an opportunity, even though he gets side by side. Oh, and Diaz comes together with him. Both of them cut the course. They're both going to have to slow down, but who more than the other? Looks like Pablo is a little bit less on the penalty and gets back ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Not what you want to see.
Oh, and he pulls right back in front of
no.
Corey Clark, who gets him. The red mist has come down over a number of drivers, and there are some silly mistakes being made out on track right now.
Yeah, that's just not what you want to see at all. I don't think Diaz necessarily meant to spin him, but he definitely meant to give him a shot into turn 1, and that is absolutely not what you want to see.
No, I don't think the stewards are going to take kindly. They do hand out penalties, and Pablo didn't check his F3 box. He was such in a hurry to get going right in the middle of a pack of cars, and Corey Clark was the victim of that, who falls to 10th. That shuffled things around in the mid-pack quite a bit.
It all falls shuffled around Corey
6th.
Clark's hood. He's got significant damage there on the front end. He's going to have to maybe possibly wait for some repairs when he comes to pit.
I certainly will. This actually moves Eisler now up to 7th. What a credit to Eisler coming back on this one. Really been climbing forward. Tina now up to 8th because of that. Pete Mobrotten, incredibly, Pete up to 9th. And Diaz pits. I kind of understand why after that one. It's our first of our front runners to. Oh, did he miss his stall? I think he missed his pit stall, and
No, he knows he's on the broadcast and he's taking a celebratory burnout. I believe he might be DQ'd.
Well, that was a little bit of a weird set of circumstances, unfortunately. So we come back to Abner Acosta, who holds down 4th place, but Andrew Karen continuing to close on the number 5 for 4th.
And wasn't Acosta passed by Karen just a couple of laps ago before all that chaos ensued?
I'd have to double check on that to see if he was a position down. Yeah, he was.
So Acosta,
Interesting.
even with that front left damage from hitting the wall through the hairpin, he's clawed his way back and made his way past Karen. That's impressive.
I that BMW has got to be a tank. Let's go and see where this pass happened. I mean, you need good top end speed, and the front of the car being all banged up won't help that. He took a shot to the suspension. It looked like so that shouldn't help. Oh.
Yeah, my goodness, yeah, that was a really sketchy moment for Andrew Karen as he came through the wall of champions. He clobbered that second chicane significantly. Watch him hit it right here, bam, with the left front, and then he tries to put his foot down and get some power out, but the left rear wheel had not set down yet, and that just allowed Acosta to close right up and pass him.
Well, it seems like the theme of the day is if you keep it pointed forward and you keep from making silly mistakes in the chicanes, you're going to gain positions because so many drivers have lost them. Now, Clark, who we know had some severe damage, did he just get passed by Hef here?
Yes, he did. Oh, Munoz is off track. Rodrigo Munoz is off track right now.
This is in an area where you can easily take a very hard hit. And I believe he did. Let's take a look at the replay. This is through 3 and 4. Actually, well, this is bizarre. Did he lose traction at the rear here?
I believe that might have been mechanical failure.
Yeah, car just kept steering off to the left when the track went straight. And now he's going once again. And that was Moises Caraballo finding him, but it looked like he was staying well out of line. So, boy, Munoz, it's unfortunate if his wheel is stuck or got stuck, especially if he's looks like he's got it back to position now.
And Pete Mobroden just got a course-cutting penalty through the Wall of Champions, and he lost about 4 positions now, and now dropped back to P10. And I think we have the first of our pit takers. Yes, Uribe is in.
But remember, he was involved with what happened with Diaz. So Uribe probably getting a little bit of his repairs done. That is Diaz that you see, who eventually finished out his donuts and found his pit stall. I'm pretty sure that Michael is probably done for the day. I don't think he'll be coming back out since he's already multiple laps down. There goes Uribe back out. And he's going to be our highest pitter after that scheduled stop.
Yeah, and Joe, we're 32 minutes into this race. We got 28 minutes left, and most of the front runners have decided not to take their pit stops yet. Now, for Caraballo, I get it; he's 5 seconds out, but you'd think that an undercut might work here with all the trouble we've seen with people having trouble with traction on exit.
You would think, and we said the same thing at Lime Rock Park. We kept expecting drivers to take an early stop, but very few did. They all waited until incredibly late. And one other thing that I want to point out is that we have a huge gap from the top of the field to the rest of the field. Andrew Karen is in 5th place, but he's got 21 seconds back to Eisler, and that is not a difference on pit stop. Neither of them have stopped. This is just pure pace.
And that's seriously impressive. And Karen is actually starting to fall off the back of Acosta as well. Acosta's got 4 seconds up to Modoff. I mean, like, these gaps are quite significant right now, as we have Valenzuela and Rodriguez in from 13th and 14th.
Few more of our mid-pack drivers. Munoz had come and pit. Actually, Munoz is getting repairs, excuse me, so that's not scheduled for him. Maybe these are a few of our drivers eager to see if an alternate strategy will give them something just about at halfway with 26 minutes left on the clock.
It's definitely an alternate as Caraballo continues to go around one more time. These guys starting to break off. They're going to go a lap down here if they weren't already a lap down.
Speaking of going downwards, Corey Clark, who is in ninth, now has Pete Mobrotten behind him. And we do know that from the previous laps we've seen, Corey, with his damage, is not faring terribly well. Wonder if this is going to be an easy pass for the number 15.
It should be for sure. I think that, yeah, Clark just lost a little bit of top end speed with that damage, and he's just a sitting duck now as they go into the Wall of Champions. I'm pretty sure that Mobrotten is just going to let him be right here. He's just going to find a better place to pass him because it's not worth taking a chance to the Wall of Champions. We've seen it bite a couple of people today.
Yep. Nothing doing quite yet for the number 15 car, but he'll get plenty of chances later down the line. Again, our highest bidder is still Pablo Valenzuela Uribe in 15th position. About a minute and a half back from our leader, who is, that actually is just about a whole lap. So he's the last car on the lead lap currently.
Corey Clark still holding his place from Mobrotten. Mobrotten not able to find his way by, but he's going to have to get a good run now if he's going to try and make his way by. And he decides not to take it into the hairpin. That's kind of surprising, actually, Joe.
Well, we saw this at Lime Rock Park. He waited a long time for a pass that we thought would come sooner, and I think it's coming right now. A defensive move from Corey Clark down to the inside. Oh, and a big wiggle under braking. Tries to go for the over-under, but Pete Mobrotten lost too much grip. He falls back, and he's going to have to set himself back up for another go later.
Yeah, the temptation to put your brake buys way far back in these GTE cars is a very good one because you know that you can get better traction on braking, but at the same time, if you loop it around, these GT cars are nearly impossible to save. So it's just one of those things that you're gonna have to be careful of, and both of them are in the pits now.
So is Matthew Tina. Number of mid-pack drivers now coming in. I can tell you that Uribe, who is our highest bidder, is heading towards Lapingle. It was Tina who was the first into pit lane ahead of both Clark and Mobrotten. See if they come out in the same order. Waiting for the pits to be over. They do not take tires typically in this series with it being such a short run. Tina the first out. And Clark out ahead of Mobrotten, but not by a whole lot.
And the leader is in the pits.
All right, Moises Caraballo, with 23 left to go, comes on in. So is Espinoza, Modoff pits. Also fans of Pablo Uribe. He was behind both Tina Clark and Mobrotten. Tina is now our highest pitter, but that should change soon because we're waiting on Moises Caraballo to hit his stall. And there he goes.
Modoff is only one position ahead of Acosta, who's also in the pits behind him, about 5 seconds back. This is a good opportunity for Modoff to claw a couple more points away from the likes of Acosta and our other challengers at the front of the field here for the points. So this is a good race for Modoff if he could just keep it clean and keep it going as he exits the pits now.
Yeah, Diaz was the other one in the top three fighting for the championship, and he lost out big time. Christian Eisler comes, well, it doesn't come out. It's Caraballo who comes out right ahead of Eisler by about 0.3 of a second. Now, Eisler still has to make his stop, but he could certainly make life difficult for Moises if he wanted to. Defner also pits. Josh Daniel is in. Takeshi Kita.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't think that Eisler's going to be much of a challenge for Caraballo. Their best lap times are about a second difference, so Caraballo's pace is significant over Eisler. So the real person who Eisler's going to trouble is Espinoza, who's behind him by about 5 seconds and being challenged significantly by Karl Modov.
Ooh, this is a battle for position. Both have pitted. Espinoza's got the inside down into Lepingle. Little puff of smoke from Modov. So that's going to hand it over to Espinoza, who finds himself on the podium looking at a second place. Will we get another attack back, though, from Karl? The Club West driver has got the slipstream. That Porsche staying right in the tire tracks, unfortunately has to brake by the time they get to the final chicane. He's not going to get a chance yet.
Yeah, he thought about it, Joe. As Eisler comes in from second place, this fits Espinoza and Modov. This battle is now for second place. Yeah, Modov definitely thought about whether or not he wanted to dive it in there. It's not quite that time yet. Wow, Espinoza really struggling to get the front end of that car turned into the center of the corner.
Stay with him. And Eisler's now pitted, so he is our last one. This is now the battle for second place out on track, trying to determine the bottom two steps of the podium. And a defensive move from Espinoza to me says that he is a little bit worried about this spot. He thinks the pace of Modov is good enough that he could try and get this one down to the middle of the track immediately, all the way to the white line to try and cover off Karl Modov. They weave back to the racing line. Karl's not going to be able to get it this time through, but he gets a great launch off of turn 8. And once again, he's going to have to take the non-optimal way as he is forced to the outside by Espinoza. Last time through, he wasn't good under braking. This time he looks a little bit more confident, but the question is, can he get his foot down? He does, and he gets back in the slipstream. It's going to take multiple corners for him to get this done. He looks to the outside. No, he comes back into the draft. Now he runs out of that, off to the left side of that Ferrari. What can he do? Into the final chicane? Not enough. He knows it's not worth trying to go through too wide. He backs off early.
Espinoza's rear end is extremely floaty through center corner and off, so it's going to be very dangerous for him to try and defend these positions. Karl Modov alongside him now as they go into one, and it looks like Modov's got a good braking. He's going to just power it straight in, and wow, what a powerful move from Modov.
Around the outside of the turn, the first turn, and that gives him second position, but I don't think this fight is over. Look at Andre stay right with him. Oh, but he gets the wall out of turn 4. The number 87 Ferrari with a big chunk of concrete.
Yeah, he was just too loose, Joe, too loose to try and challenge in the dirty air of Modov ahead of him, and that's gonna get you every time. The rear end of his Ferrari was extremely floaty through center of the corner, and that's exactly what got him. It just drifted him straight out. He was too neutral in the car and just wasn't able to settle it down before he hit the wall.
He's dropped off only by half a second, incredibly, and we've seen some very hardy cars hit the wall so far this race, but still be able to continue. Little tire lockup on the inside for Karl Modov. He survives to fight another day. This is all ahead of Abner Acosta because of that dueling, who's run them down to 1.1 second, and I'm sure he'd love to get up into the top 3 to minimize the damage to Karl.
Yeah, Acosta is really concerned right now. He knows that this is the points with him and Diaz at the top. This is the points lead just evaporating before his eyes as he watches Karl Modov take off into the sunset. He's going to have to get up there really fast and make his way past the struggling Espinoza in order to try and regain those positions. If he can do it, that's going to be a serious boon to his points championship.
So you have to imagine that Acosta is going to be pushing hard in these last 18 minutes of the race. This is one of our best battles on track, by the way. Most of the other mid-pack is separated. We'll jump back to them if any of them get hot. But this duel for the podium has produced some exciting moments and some more disappointing than others. But Espinoza now falling back. It is 1.2 seconds to Karl Modov. Remember, a little less than a lap ago, I mentioned it was at about 0.8. Yeah, I think he's starting to feel the hurt on that one. Let's go back down to 13th, though. We got a nice little tussle between Kita and Valenzuela.
Yeah, Kita's been closing on Valenzuela the last couple of laps. It looks like Valenzuela's getting a little bit loose into the corners. He's having trouble keeping that rear end underneath him in this BMW. It's really just he's lost the rear tires due to tire spin a little bit, and Kita in the Porsche not having the same issue because his car's not quite as heavy, and with it being mid-engine, that helps significantly with that problem. So Kita's also struggling with a little bit of tire degradation, but it's not quite as bad, and so he's closing up on Valenzuela fairly quickly.
Ooh, a little wide off the exit of 6 for Cristobal. He gets it back together and recovers. I'm sure Kita would like to see a few more of those. The driver starting 21st up to 14th, trying to continue his climb. He's become a little bit known for this maneuver. Just qualifying poorly and slowly but surely chipping away at all those around him. And he'll finally get Valenzuela in these last few laps.
Valenzuela locked up the fronts that time, and that allows Kita to get a good run off the corner, but he had to whoa it up a little bit because Valenzuela was exactly where he wanted to be. So that knocked off his pace a little bit, so he's just going to have to drop into the draft and hope that he gets enough pace by the time they get to the Wall of Champions. So Valenzuela smartly defending to the inside.
Yeah, but he comes back to the racing line. He knows he's not under attack. Kita looking very good on the brakes, though, as he nearly got up to the rear spoiler of Cristobal Valenzuela. We've seen a lot of good battles out here today, and I have a feeling this one is going to go until we get a serious enough mistake that Kita falls back, or we see a problem from Valenzuela himself. Because so far, Kita not able to really do anything with it. Meanwhile, we need to go to Acosta because Espinoza is only about 3/10 ahead, still dealing with that damage. Does Acosta do it into turn 1? No, he's going to wait just a little longer.
Yeah, that damage is really hurting Espinoza's top end speed, and as we know, the BMW pulls very well in a straight line, and so that's allowing Acosta already to get good pace on him, but add the damage in, and that makes Espinoza a sitting target on these straights. But wow, Acosta hitting his right rear on the outside wall there. That corner's been a problem for everybody today, Joe.
That exit at turn 4, I think he just brushed it. This is maybe even things out a little bit between Acosta and Espinoza. He's trying to recover, see how the car handles, make sure he didn't damage anything. I think Acosta's okay.
Yeah, and I can report that Kita has fallen back to a 2.5 seconds behind Valenzuela due to a small mistake exiting through the Wall of Champions. So not much that we can go back and show, but it's definitely going to be something that he's going to have to claw his way back for.
We mentioned earlier, I believe it wasn't Eisler that was 21 seconds back. It was somebody else, was it not? But it is Christian Eisler now in 6th position, who's got 25 seconds instead, up to Andrew Caron.
Andrew Caron only about 3.5 seconds off of this battle, but Abner Acosta still showing that he's very strong in the straight lines. If he can keep it clean through sections 1 and 2, when you get to sector 3, he's really strong. So he's just got to hope that Espinoza continues to get pressure to make mistakes. But man, Acosta right on his bumper now.
Staying with him down into turn 3. This is the problem zone for both these drivers thus far, and both of them giving a little bit more berth.
Yeah, extremely conservative through there, just being careful not to create any more damage. These two drivers know there's only about 13 minutes left in this race, so this is not the time to throw it away due to a bad mistake.
The one who's loving this is Modov in that multicolored Porsche that you see up ahead. The 948 has pulled away by about 1.7 seconds. He could yet still make a mistake himself and lose the position of both of those, but every little bit of buffer helps. He's been trying to chase down Moises Caraballo, but it's really been Moises who's been the class of the field because he's got a 3.3 second ahead of our two-time champion.
And actually, I think, Joe, that Espinoza has actually been gaining a little tiny bit on Modov just over the last 2 laps with the challenge from Acosta from behind. So Espinoza is one of those drivers where when they're under pressure, they seem to pick up the pace and get significant pace going. So this might be one of those things to watch. It's possible Espinosa might get back up to Modaf by the time he finishes this race.
We'll have to watch and see. He's only got a second and a half to make up. And you can see that clock continuing to get smaller and smaller numbers. I don't know about this one. He's going to have to really hustle because we've seen it's one thing to catch the car ahead, but passing it is proving to be really a tough ask.
You know, with the tight quarters around here, that's no surprise. It's just where the passing zones are make this extremely difficult. They come off of really slow speed corners into long straights, and by the time you catch up and you have an opportunity to pass, it's time for another slow speed corner. So if somebody just defends to the inside, there's nothing you can really do.
I saw Carl Modaf going almost off into the grass coming out of turn 8 there, but he's still going, so even if he did, looks like he didn't really hit anything. This remains our closest battle on the track, but not close enough to really give us some good play-by-play action. So let's take a rundown in these final 10 minutes, starting with our leader, the SRT Ferrari of Moises Caraballo. Multiple wins, 2 of them so far. He's looking to make it number 3 here, though he is not in the championship hunt due to too many DNFs. Carl Modaf he's only 12 points back coming into this race, and this second place is really not too bad of a thing. I'm sure he'd like a win, but again, he's not fighting Caraballo. So as long as he stays where he is, he'll take points on both of his rivals. Espinosa, who sits on the final step of the podium, is still being chased very heavily. In fact, that gap is closed because the driver behind him, Acosta, is only 3/10 back. Not going to be able to do anything here, and a bad exit out of turn 7 will keep him from doing anything there, so we don't have to worry about catching that action. We'll jump back to 5th place to Andrew Caron. This is a driver that probably was hoping for a little bit more, but a top 5 is no mean feat in this field, especially considering he has no threat from behind at the moment. What do the next 5 look like, Adam?
Zachary Hefner making quite a good run for himself in the 7th position. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Christian Eisler actually making a decent recovery drive for him for sure, back from, I believe he was down in like P14 or 15, making his way back up to P6 after these pit stops. He's the first of those cars 26 seconds back and making a good work of it right now. Back to Zachary Hefner, who has had a decent race. He's hold position in 7th place from his starting position, but considering all the chaos that's happened around him, that's actually considerably impressive for him for sure. Matthew Tina, after getting up there and challenging Andrew Caron quite a few laps ago, just has kind of struggled a little bit on pace. And while Tina's up 3 positions, I'm sure this is not exactly where Tina was hoping that he would end up. So that's not exactly the best race for him so far. Corey Clark, with the whole accident happening in front of him that he got caught up in, with that significant front end damage you can see on screen there, he is just trying to claw back a top 10 out of this, and he's doing quite a good job of it, especially with the damage considering. And then we have Pete Mobrotten, after some connection issues early in the race, a good recovery drive from him, up 3 positions from his starting position, and seems like his connection stabilized now, so he's going to round out our top 10.
The battle for 3rd has been hovering very closely together, but did Acosta get a slowdown here? I think Acosta just got a slowdown, and that would have been turn 9.
Oh no, hold on 1 second. Looks like Espinosa is off track. That's going to allow Acosta to go through. Espinosa just came in way too deep into the hairpin.
Wow. And here we thought that Espinosa was going to be able to get himself a buffer. There you see Acosta trying to serve his slowdown penalty, thinking it's all slipped away from him, and then gift wrapped in a basket, there goes 3rd place.
Yeah, just a little bit of that rearward bias on the brakes there. He just turns his wheel just a little bit into the corner a little early, and that just sends the car rotating around. it's really, frankly, amazing they didn't hit the wall. Quite a few of these drivers have been able to save these GTEs and likes that I haven't seen in a long time. So quite impressive, actually, from Espinosa to hang on to it.
Andre still within a half a second of Abner Acosta. So despite his mistake, he's going to see if he can reapply the pressure and work his way back through, but certainly didn't want to be in this position at this point in the race. I'm sure he'd rather have been on the podium. We've only lost 5 cars so far, I'm seeing. Arroyan, Peterson, Diaz, Bench, and Pisano are out of the race. Rodrigo Munoz gets the Dory Award of the race. He is still swimming, even though he is 8 laps down from the leaders.
Yeah, after 12 minutes in the pit lane, that's a rough time for sure. Oh man, Espinosa's keeping the challenge up on Acosta. Let's see what happens here on the straight though, because this is where Acosta's been the strongest.
Espinosa would probably like some of that straight line speed right now. And though he is getting the toe to help him go a little bit faster, he's a little too far back as they hit the braking into the wall of champions. I wonder if this is going to take pressurizing Acosta into a mistake.
Yeah, Espinosa probably regretting that spin for sure. But Acosta, really fortunate for him, that's a few points less that he's going to lose to Karl Modaf in the championship hunt. And this championship hunt, with it as tight as it is, each one of these positions is going to matter significantly.
One thing we should point out about Acosta that we've been following all season long is he has never finished out of the top 5. He's looking to continue that. In fact, most of them have been podiums so far this season. He was a second in Lime Rock Park, second at Road Atlanta, missed out on the podium at Mosport, but he was a third at the Nürburgring, missed it at Watkins Glen, and he won at Monza. This is an incredible strike rate and why he's leading.
Through sectors 1 and 2, but Acosta locking up the right front a little bit. He's not going to be able to do much with it before the wall changes.
Whether or not Espinosa can manage better, well, they look about dead even off of there as they cross the line for another lap. That clock under 5 minutes left to go. I believe, are we at 3 or 4 laps?
Probably more in the realm of possibly 4. It'll be tight. It'll be within 10 seconds, I think, coming across the line. So this will be a close one. Caraballo just needs to keep it consistent. He's only got about 2 seconds to Modaf, but if he can keep that gap, then he's pretty much golden right now.
That was up at 3 seconds before, I'm pretty certain. Unless Caraballo is managing the gap, can we get a lap comparison from first and second place? Because, oh boy.
Yeah, Modaf has gained about 2/10 just in the last sector alone, so it's possible Modaf has more pace that we're not. Oh no, Acosta's gone around.
Yeah, Acosta's lost 2 positions just as we were getting ready to look at that lap comparison that happened in turns 8 and 9. It was all on his own. And once again, a car whose brake bias not agreeing with the driver's foot.
It's all too familiar. It's something that we've seen a lot today. And Acosta, wow, just having to lock it down, that allows Espinosa to...
He should be pretty safe there because, again, 25-second gap is between first and second. Do we not? Let's see if it pulled up on lap 34. But other than that, he is faster every single lap.
Yeah, but I think he's going to run out of time. We only have about 2.5 minutes left in this race, and Modaf...
Right now, Caraballo heading down the pit straight, and now we're going to be able to tell exactly how many laps are left. As they head towards the wall of champions, they've been running about 1:30 lap times. So what will he cross the line with? This is actually going to be very tight. We might not even know how many laps we have left.
Be about 2 laps if they continue at this pace.
Yeah, they had about 6 seconds on there, so yeah, he is going to be able to get around.
And he has pulled away from Modaf. Modaf back down to 2 seconds behind Caraballo. So Caraballo has increased his pace as long as he can keep it clean with those old tires. he'll be able to hold on to this one.
Our closest battle is for 4th position. After Acosta's mistake, he's behind Karen. And we've seen the 27 is not immune to his own bit of errors, so I don't think this one is over by any stretch of the imagination. Again, Acosta needs every single point that he can get, so he'll be eager for that 4th place.
Acosta's going to have to do something desperate, though. With only 2 laps to go, this is the penultimate lap here. This is going to be something he's going to have to hang on to. Oh my goodness, Karen really taking quite a bit of that left side curve there. That was significant opposite lap there. That was pretty impressive.
I'd say so. If you think Andrew wasn't pushing, well, there you go. The 27 doesn't want to give it up himself as they come onto the rowing straight. We're going to be getting the white flag in just a moment, but let's stick with this battle because it's a lot more exciting than watching Caraballo circulate on his own, and we'll give him his time in the spotlight when he gets to the checkered flag. What about our championship points leader? What can he do to try and salvage a race full of mistakes at this point? Acosta still behind Andrew Karen. Down into the Senna S. No opportunity quite yet, Adam.
These 2 BMWs have been slugging it out all day. Acosta thought he had that battle won, but due to the mistake, now he's behind Karen. And Karen doing quite a good job defending right now, but his pace is less by about 0.2 to Acosta. Man, he's extremely loose as we go through this on the last lap. This is Acosta's only chance. He's going to have to make something work here as we have a lap car of Kenneth Rodriguez ahead of these 2.
I think he's making something work. He got really close to the back of Karen. The big question is Rodriguez going to have space to pull over and get out of their way? He just got lapped by his teammate Espinoza. This would be a good spot if he's paying attention. I don't know. Is Rodriguez going to pull over? No, he's going to stay on the racing line. This could hold them up slightly as now they break for Lepingle. Now Rodriguez he gets out of the way. Nicely done.
But that's sabotage Acosta's run, so let's take a look at Caraballo.
Caraballo through the last chicane. Modov's very close. Modov's cut this down to 1.1 second. It's too little too late because Caraballo takes the victory. Modov with a 2nd place, gaining more points on his rivals. But what about the battle for 4th? Championship implications here. Acosta couldn't do it. He has to settle for 5th. The only consolation being that he has continued that top 5 streak in every single round. Oh, and Rodriguez slow on the track.
Yeah, Rodriguez.
He
Nah, he spun around on the exit of the Wall of Champions, just trying to be a little bit too eager watching the battle ahead of him, probably.
Eisler is going to take 6th. Not a bad day today, although he qualified 1 higher, but he came back from an error that certainly could have cost him more. Hefner with a 7th himself. Tina going to be the next one across the line. This should give you an idea, the gaps of these cars today.
Corey Clark, good recovery drive from him after his accident, still holding on to a top 10. Impressive stuff.
Pace was torrid today. We had very few cars on the lead lap at the end of 23 starters. Only 14 saw all laps of the race. Everybody behind them, unfortunately, got overtaken by the leader coming back around and shortening the day for him. Takeshi Kita is going to be our last one across the line, so that'll take us to a quick break here at Montreal. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. In between now and then, though, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC.
40 of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive and sought-after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
Welcome back to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We just watched round 7 of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. Caraballo becomes our first driver to take 3 wins on the season, and he was chased to the checkered flag to within half a second by Karl Modoff, but we kind of feel that possibly Caraballo was managing his pace until the end, because he had it up to 3 seconds at one point. Modoff still will probably be happy with this finish because he extends his point lead over his main rivals in the points fight. Third place goes to Andre Espinoza. This was an excellent day for him, staying cool under pressure and managing to get third. Andrew Caron as well took fourth. He had to fight for it at the very end with Acosta, who's leading the points coming into this thing. We'll have to see if he is on the way out, though, because he finished in 5th place, continuing his top 5 streak, but certainly losing points to Modoff. Christian Eisler with a 6th place finish. He's actually within the top 5 in the points. I just don't know that he's close enough or has the pace to try and take this into a championship run. Zach Hefner finished 7th behind him, with Matthew Tina in 8th, gaining 3 positions from the start for the 310 car. Corey Clark gets a 9th, with Pete Mobrotten getting a well-deserved 10th.
Joshua Daniels is going to start the second slot on P11 there. We have Uribe, who's going to come home in P12 after his significant damage that he got during the accident with Diaz. Cristobal Valenzuela, a pretty decent recovery drive for him after his own issues. Takeshi Kita struggling a little bit on pace towards the end of the race, but doing a good job to keep his way and hang on to there in 14th. Michael Stokebrower, after his connection issues, coming home in 15th position. Kenneth Rodriguez is going to come home in 16th. Joey Trungale in 17th. Rodrigo Munoz in 18th position. Jeffrey Arroyan is the start of our DNFs, with Leif Peterson in the 20th position and Diaz in the 21st position, with Anthony Pisano and Stephen Bench not starting the race.
And we've got our winner ready to talk to us. Moises Caraballo joins us in the booth after a lights to flag victory out there. Moises, congratulations. You were being caught a little bit at the end, but we'll have to settle the debate here. Were you managing your pace, or was Carl legitimately running you down?
Thanks, Guy. How are you? Good night for everyone. Yes, the car was very, very fast in the second stint. My tire was done. I don't have tires, and I was like trying to get the same pace like him, but I can't. He was very fast in the last stint of the race.
Well, that makes that ending so much more tense than we made it. Uh, we thought that you were just slowing up to make sure that you took it home to the finish safely. Uh, are you going to be able to continue to the last few races of the season to maybe steal a few more wins away from these championship contenders?
Yes, I will try to finish the race, the championship. Sorry for that, and be strong. Like we be in the race that we can finish.
All right. Well, is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go? This was a mighty impressive victory for you today.
Yes, I want to thanks to my team, Euphoria Drivex Racing, and I want to thanks to the Mama Bicho guys.
Awesome stuff. That was Moises Caraballo, our winner here today in Montreal. Up next, Adam is going to be talking to Carl Modoff, who might be a little frustrated that he was that close to a victory.
Yeah, Carl, you got so close to a victory there, but a P2 and significantly ahead of your championship rivals. That's got to feel good today.
Oh yeah, that feels like a win for me. I'm super stoked. The end of that race, I mean, the whole race was very stressful. I think I lost probably 5 pounds in sweat during that thing. So yeah, most of the race I was just kind of worried about being ahead of Acosta, and he'd run me down a little bit, and I'd pull him, and he'd run me down. And then at the end, once I was in second, I saw Moses made that one mistake, and then I was about 4 seconds back. I figured he'd kind of pull out again, but I started inching closer and closer. I started getting really excited at the end, but he was able to just hold on at the end there. But yeah, great race, super fun, great results, especially for this track. I didn't expect a lot, being kind of tough for the Porsche this week. So yeah, really satisfied with that race.
And Carl, we saw a lot of people struggling with traction off of turn 4 and with traction just all over the course. How slippery was it out there today?
It was really slippery. It was really hot. In practice, we were running track that was much cooler. It had a ton of grip. And then as soon as we went into qualifying, me and Corey were both just like, I don't know what setup that we're even running right now because I could barely even get a lap in. It took me the whole 15 minutes to get a lap. And then the race, yeah, the whole time was really slippery. So, second half when I really kind of started breathing and slowing down and really driving soft, I was able to find some more pace over everyone else. And I think that really helped was just kind of slowing down because it was so hot. Really, that was really hard to do.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on P2, Carl, and we look forward to seeing you next week at Road America.
Yeah, same. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Carl Modoff, our second place finisher, and third place in the points going into this race. And it looks like Joe Peak is caught up with Andre Espinoza.
Yes, we have Andre here, the final step of the podium today. Andre, the first few laps of the race, you were hanging on to Caraballo pretty well, it seemed, and then suddenly you fell back. Is that a draft thing? Did you just fall out of the wake?
I did. I did. It was hard to keep up with them. I was kind of forcing the mistake on myself, so I just decided to sort of dial it down a little, try to manage my gap with Moda. I just thought from the start, from get go, that my race was going to be managing probably the guys behind me, but not Moises, because I know he's quick.
Yeah, he is. But towards the end of the race, you and Acosta had a nice little battle for what we thought was going to be for third. And then suddenly Acosta got a slowdown. And immediately after, you had trouble in the hairpin. What happened that caused that? Did you get distracted by him falling off of you, or was that just simple driver error?
It was actually funny because we both got a slowdown in the same turn. So I pulled down to the side because I thought he was going to pass me. But then I saw him pulling down to the side as well, and I'm like, no way. So I tried to clear the slowdown as quick as I could, and then I pushed too hard through the hairpin. I lost it. He passed me. Then I tried to catch him down again, and then he lost it through the same turn. We got the slowdown. So yeah, it was intense, definitely.
Our next race, though, as we go into round 8, is going to be taking us to Road America, where I expect passing probably be a little bit easier than it is here at Canada. Do you think a victory might be on the cards?
Well, we're always trying SRT Sport, and the team is always going trying to go for the win, but we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on a podium here today, and can't wait to see you in Wisconsin.
Thank you guys. See you.
That was Andre Espinoza, third place and the last of our interviews here for today. So let's close it out with, first of all, a big thank you to our sponsors once again, starting off with Simulation Motorsports Affinity. If you want to see how to get involved with SIMSA, you can find information at simsa.net. Also, you can find information about our other sponsor, Butt Kicker, at thebuttkicker.com. If you're a sim racer, and I suspect if you're watching this, there's a high chance you are, they have plenty of products that could help you out there. So go give a look and see what kind of stuff they could do to help make your rig all the cooler. Also, thanks to iRacing for putting us on IESN another season. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. Go to their YouTube page and click on the big red button. You'll know it if you haven't subscribed because it will be big and red. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel. Our Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. The next race is going to be at Road America, as I said. That'll be Tuesday, August 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.